good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Alice. Hi, that's me. I'm Alice. I am a legal sex worker that works at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch, and this is my morning show. Oh my gosh, I hope everybody has their coffee ready. I have this adorably punny mug because, let's be real, it's morning and nobody likes to wake up early. Isn't that adorable? For fox's sake. That, and I love foxes, so I was like, ooh, this is really cute. Like, I need this. So today's episode is brought to you all by Clandestine Devices, makers of the Mimic 3. Awesome toy that I recently reviewed on my channel. Make sure to go check out that review video, and I've pasted the link as well if you're interested in getting a Mimic of your own. This is actually the first toy to ever receive a perfect score on my channel, so wanted to give them a little special shout out today. And it looks like a manta ray. It's a really cool freaking toy. Like, good for men, good for couples. Check it out, awesome stuff. Alrighty, so let's start with a little bit of a disclaimer today. It is against the law to talk about prices online. I am not able to give any specifics. I am unable to give any generalities. So please be respectful and understanding of the law, because I kind of like my job and I want to keep doing stuff at the ranch. So we will not be able to talk about the hard numbers. However, today we are talking about brothel prices and negotiations. Going to be talking about it in more general terms, kind of breaking down how do negotiations work, how's the price actually calculated, what's considered a specialty, does everybody have the same menu or do the ladies choose what to offer, and then I'll get into the negotiation conversation and kind of go through the details of how to actually talk about what it is you're interested in, how to go through that process with as little anxiety as possible. Because really, it's like not a hostage negotiation, it's a conversation. And then finally, I'll finish off with some do's, don'ts, and end off with some Q&A if you have any questions for me. All right, guys, let's get started talking about how prices work at the Nevada brothels. So, brothels are only legal in 1 out of the 50 states. Nevada! There are approximately 20 legal brothels that currently are licensed and operating in the state. I work at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch. Fun fact, you can obtain multiple licenses to work at multiple brothels, but you have to work in different counties. So for example, I would not be able to have a license to work at the Bunny Ranch and the Sagebrush Ranch. I would have to have a license for one or the other. However, a lady could obtain a license in 2 different counties. For example, the Bunny Ranch and then a location closer to Vegas would absolutely be allowable. So how prices work at the brothel. First, be aware that all of the ladies are independent contractors. Because of this, there really is no industry standard in terms of pricing. There's not like a standard like, oh, this is the recommended price list for the Nevada brothels. No, it doesn't quite work that way. Each lady is able to set her prices the way that she so chooses. She can pick and choose what she considers to be a specialty party. She can decide how the negotiation process works. And of course, she's able to decide how she calculates out her prices. So I'm only able to talk as to my business, how I choose to do things, and how I decide to calculate prices. So how it works for me is that it's a combination of what we're doing together and how long we're going to be doing that activity for. So for example, if we wanted to start our day off with breakfast in Virginia City and then maybe go check out a ghost tour at the haunted museum that is there and then return to the ranch, that experience would look a little bit more extravagant than, say, a simple 30-minute session back in my suite. Everyone, of course, has different activities that they consider to be specialties. Specialty activities, generally speaking, are going to cost a little bit extra. They're associated with luxury budgets because they require a little bit of extra energy, effort, and time. That's what really determines something as being a specialty. If it's going to take extra time to accomplish that, if special tools are needed, if I have to get changed or prepare differently, that's going to, of course, affect the final line. Certain things can be considered specialties, such as two-girl experiences. Obviously, you have two ladies instead of just one lady, which means the price, of course, is going to be a little bit higher than with an individual. BDSM, kink, and fetish experiences are often considered specialty parties. Pegging is a type of specialty. Any sort of anal activities, which, by the way, please, if you're interested in that, communicate that information in advance of your appointment so the lady has time to appropriately clean and prepare. BDSM and bondage activities, anything where the lady is going to be immobilized. By law, a second lady will need to be present in the room for safety's sake. So let's say you're interested in rope bondage or a rape fantasy scene. For those kinds of extreme fantasies, we would have to have another lady in that space with us to ensure that everything is going according to plan. This is just a simple safety thing. You figure that all of the rooms at the ranches are equipped with panic buttons just in case. Personally, I've never actually had to hit mine in an emergency. I've only ever hit my panic button because there was a tarantula in my room and I don't like spiders. Yeah, I pretty much threw my shoe at the panic button. I was like, emergency! This definitely counts as a real-life emergency right now. I am trapped on my bed because there's a spider on the floor and he's holding me hostage. I needed an adult. Thankfully, maintenance came and rescued me. Bless their hearts, they literally swept him up in a little dustpan and then put the spider back outside because they're like, oh, we don't want to kill him. Bunny Ranch, saving spiders since 1972. Yeah. So, another thing to be aware of with brothel prices is that certain ladies may also have personal minimums associated with their experiences. That pretty much is just the line that their experiences start at. Every single lady is different, and so your experience will vary depending on who you are talking to. I do like to make people aware of that fact, though, because it can be a little bit confusing. You figure each and every lady at the ranch is essentially a business upon herself. She's the CEO of a company, and it can be a little bit confusing when you think that all of the companies kind of work the same way. The reality is every single lady is unique and different, and you're gonna have a different experience every time you visit the ranch and see a different lady. As far as the menu goes, each lady is able to determine and decide which activities she does offer, as well as which activities she does not allow for. For example, some ladies at the ranch choose to not see couples. Personally, I love couples. I love threesome experiences. And so oftentimes, ladies that do not see couples will work with a lady that does and will recommend that person to you should you inquire about a service that is not offered. For example, I'm not a big fan of sploshing. Sploshing is the act of putting food on your partner's body and then licking it off of their body. That actually kind of bugs me a little bit. I don't know why. It's must be a mouth sound thing. But anyway, if I get any kinds of requests like that, usually what I'll do is I'll forward it on to a lady that specifically offers that. This way, you know you're in touch with the right person. So if you do ask about something and it isn't offered, please don't be offended. Simply ask for a suggestion or recommendation of someone that does offer that particular service. Make sense? Alrighty. Yes, there are totally tarantulas in Nevada. Fun fact, Carson City is considered to be a high desert environment. As such, that means we do get tarantulas and occasionally can even get scorpions. Ooh, creepy crawlies. Alrighty. So let's move on and talk a little bit about the negotiation conversation. Now, this tends to be like a point of stress and anxiety for a lot of people. Breathe with me, breathe in, and out. Okay, so let's start by saying that the negotiation is not a hostage negotiation scenario. This should not be something that you have lots of anxiety and fear about. It's just a conversation. We're going to quite literally go on a tour of the entire ranch property when you first arrive. After that, we'll then head back to my private suite where we can take a seat. I've got a little love couch in there, and we're able to sit, relax, and actually talk a little bit about what it is you had in mind. This isn't supposed to be an intimidation thing like, tell me what you want to do to me, but like, hey, let's sit and like just put some language to what's about to happen here. It's oftentimes very anxiety inducing for people to talk about sex and intimacy. Oftentimes it's easier to be like, I don't know, we're just gonna go with the flow and not actually go through the details. I would actually caution against that, and I always encourage people whenever possible to try to find the language to describe and articulate the specifics of what it is you're hoping to see in our time together. For example, if you close your eyes and think of our date, and you mentally see me walking out to you to meet you in like a beautiful white robe, let me know that detail and I'll actually go get a white robe for our date and be able to meet you in that. It's important to note that you do need to request any sort of outfits in advance of our date because I don't live at the ranch. I'm broadcasting from my home about 15 minutes away from the ranch property, and most of my costumes and work clothing are not kept at the ranch. They're kept at my house because that's where I do laundry. Yeah. So if you have a special costume that you'd like me to see or a special request, whenever possible, please give me at least 48 to 72 hours notice. This way, if it's not something I already personally have, I have some time to kind of go out, search online, see if I can't find it in the local area. I'm obviously very short. I'm 4'8". I weigh like 80 pounds. It's really hard to find clothing, you guys. Like, you don't understand. Even like the standard like sexy costumes, I have to go to the tailor and get adjusted, like the straps or bring the waist in. And so even if it's something as simple as a schoolgirl request, if you can give a bit of advance notice so I can prepare, all the better. It definitely helps out. While in the negotiation, please don't assume that it's included. If there's something specific that you're interested in, like a very specific position that you want to try, or you saw something important, you're like, oh, he was doing this thing, or he was standing, then he was holding the girl up, and then he had his hand on her throat, like, hey, we might be able to make that happen, but I can't make that happen if we don't talk about that happening. So if you use your words, I'm a magician, I can just wave my magic alicelittle wand and make pretty much anything happen. Just takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of planning. Another thing to take away from this is that when we are having that negotiation conversation, please do be flexible. Because we're unable to discuss prices and activities outside of the ranch, we really do need to be able to negotiate in person. That means being flexible with time, flexible with the exact activities, as well as being flexible with budget. You figure we can adjust things and make pretty much anything work. I'm super easygoing. If you try to set an appointment with me, I will give you all of the applicable information in advance on what we need to do to make something happen. But once we get into that space, so long as you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you. The worst thing you can do is go into the negotiation, pull out money, and then just like throw it at the girl and be like, hey, this is how much I'm paying, and that's it. I'm not budging. Oh, okay. Well, you're actually gonna have to budge because there's the door. Fun fact, the ladies can say no for any reason they choose at any point that they so choose. And so please try to mind your manners, be a nice guy. Because like at the end of this whole conversation, we still want to have sex together. So like, please don't make it awkward. Like, let's just have a normal conversation and make it easy. It's not supposed to be a source of stress. You figure the hardest part of coming out to the ranch is booking your plane ticket. The rest of it is so simple. How it works is you simply visit the website and pick whichever lady you're so interested in. Send an email, and then she's gonna write back to you, and you'll be able to go back and forth to find a day and time to meet that works for you. Once you pick a day and time, you'll be able to phone into the ranch and reserve that date with a 10% deposit. 10%? 10% of what? I thought you said we couldn't talk about prices. Alice, hey, that doesn't make sense. Okay, I get it. It's 10% of your intended budget. It's whatever you have in mind, like, okay, I'm gonna treat myself, I've saved up this money, I got this awesome bonus, and I'm gonna go ahead and treat myself to this. I'm gonna put down 10% of what that total is as the deposit, which kind of helps communicate to me what you have in mind. This way I know how to plan my schedule and make sure that I've allotted enough time for us to go off and have fun together. For example, if you're interested in spending the night with a lady and actually going into that next day, feel free to let her know that information in advance. Personally, I'm available by appointment only. I only see one person each day, and so if we want to spend the whole night together, I do need to know that in advance so I can cordon off both of those days for our special time together. It makes it easy that way. It's so simple. It's not supposed to be a source of stress. It's supposed to be more of an excitement where you actually get to talk about the desire that you have. Most of the time when it comes to sex, we feel very selfish when we're describing our fantasies. Like, oh, I don't want to put that on them. I don't want to make them feel pressured. But being at the brothel is kind of a unique situation. That's your opportunity to share that information with somebody and actually get to live that experience. So like, if you've always wanted to have two schoolgirls in a limousine driving around Lake Tahoe, hey, just email me and we can make it happen. Alrighty, so let's move on to some of the do's and some of the don'ts when it comes to visiting the brothels, prices, and negotiations. So, please do shower before you arrive if possible. Otherwise, we'll need to start off our date with a shower, which of course cuts into our time together. By all means, if you're traveling across country or driving to the ranch just for the day, if you let me know in advance that you're gonna need to freshen up when you first arrive, I'll actually have a suite ready to go specifically for you so you can shower off, get comfortable before we then head back and start negotiating. This way it doesn't affect our time together, and once we're ready to start off and start our day, we can head right on out and get going. Please do call your bank in advance, especially if you're traveling from out of the area or are planning to spend somewhere between 4 and 5 figures. The reason being is that your card, generally speaking, has an associated limit. You do need to call the bank in advance to raise that limit if you're going to be spending more than that amount in a single transaction. Additionally, the bank may flag your card for fraud because it's being used for a large amount in another state. If you don't live in Nevada, they're not used to you spending money in Nevada, and so they'll block that transaction. In good news, let's say you forgot to call the bank. No worries, no stress. We can always get on the phone with them right there from the ranch. I'll tell you right now, it's pretty much a daily occurrence that somebody has to call their bank, so please don't feel ashamed. Don't feel bad. You don't need to apologize. Trust me, we totally understand. Like, yeah, call your bank. Let me excuse myself so you can have some privacy. Also, please, and like, I could not beg you enough, please plan your appointments in advance. The further out you're able to email, the better. So if you're interested in spending some time with me this year, there's no reason for you to not send me an email today. My email is alicelittle@bunnyranch.com. because you figure the sooner we get to know each other, the sooner we can start planning and figuring out what all the details are. I actually will text with people back and forth before the date of our appointment. This way, when you come to the ranch, it doesn't feel so uncomfortable. Instead, it kind of feels like you're meeting up with an old buddy. Like, we've already been messaging each other back and forth for several weeks, like, hey, what's up, come here and give me a hug. And that is also an important note too. When you are meeting with a lady for the first time, please do be polite. Please, when we like first meet up in the parlor, don't try to go for like the lift and throw move, or you're gonna kind of catch me off guard. Like, I'm totally cool with being picked up. Just ask first, please. Otherwise, I'd be like, whoa, hold on. Actually, we have a really short ceiling in like the main parlor area, and I don't want to hit my head. That would really hurt. So please do ask before picking me up. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see what else. Oh, here's a good one. For those that are coming in and say do not have an appointment and instead are getting a lineup. A lineup is where all of the ladies that are available on shift that day would come out, introduce themselves by name, and you would then be able to extend your hand, pick a lady, and go on tour with her. Do keep in mind it would be considered very inappropriate to try to start making out with the lady while on the tour, or like trying to molest her and feel her up during negotiations. Like, whoa, hold your horses, save the bedroom stuff for the party. Especially if it's somebody that is a relative stranger, you don't have an appointment with, there's no deposit, there's no like prior relationship between the two of you that would indicate that that's okay. Please avoid doing that. For those that have seen me before, oftentimes we already have an established dynamic and relationship together. I never mind being greeted by like a big hug and a kiss in the parlor. If anything, I super welcome it. Just like, let's make sure we know each other first. So if you're coming in for a lineup, don't have an appointment, please don't try to make out with the girl before you actually negotiate. Thanks, it's just a little point of politeness. And I will tell you, do be polite. The kinder and more polite you are, the more successful your negotiations are going to go. I'll tell you right now, manners are really sexy, like huge turn on. If a guy's like super polite, I'm like, yeah, I'm really digging that. Like, ooh, he called me mademoiselle. Ooh, like, hello, like, I need a fan, that's really sexy. Like, by all means, flattery will definitely get you somewhere. Being a nice guy really does pay off, both in real life and at the brothels. I mean, it's just, I think, a general life lesson. Be good to other people. Like, there's this misconception with the golden rule of, like, treat people the way that you want to be treated. Actually, treat people the way that they want to be treated. For example, their preferences might be different from yours, and you don't want to be disrespectful to them. So always go with somebody's personal preferences. Alrighty, let's go ahead and open it up to Q&A. So there was a whole bunch of questions. Let me scroll back through here. We got all sorts of things going on. Let me scroll back. Okay. Do I ever read nonfiction? Pretty much all the time. I'm in the middle of finishing up the 5 love languages for like the 800th time. I love that book. It's awesome. Check it out if you have not already. Another good question that was asked is working with somebody with a disability considered a specialty? No. Like, just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't make you special. I mean, come on. I'm gonna treat you just like everyone else. If anything, whenever I'm working with somebody who has mobility differences, what I like to do is ensure that their mobility differences do not affect our party. So let's say it takes 30 minutes to get somebody from a wheelchair into the bed. That's not 30 minutes of us like having a session together. That's just like getting the party started. I don't ever count any sort of extra time necessary for mobility or any sort of extra time necessary for disability as being extra. That's not how I work. I refuse to be that person. So if you need a little bit of extra time or somebody to be patient, no big deal. I got you. For example, I once worked with a client that was very hard of hearing and unable to read lips. We chose to use my iPad back and forth and would type messages back and forth to be able to communicate. Obviously, that kind of slowed things down a little bit, but that didn't affect the length of our party time at all. If anything, we just allowed extra time to make sure that we were being inclusive. Inclusivity is super important to me. The Bunny Ranch does have a mobility ramp, and additionally, my suite does have its set of double French doors, so I am able to open up and give direct access that way too. Alright, let's see what else we have going on here. All sorts of great questions today. Yes, totally. Yes, it totally is the apple of discord and chaos that is my tattoo. You are correct. It is the golden apple from the Iliad, because when I turned 18, I decided to get a super dorky first tattoo because I'm so cool. I get tattoo inspiration from ancient poems. Yeah, cool kid, all right. Let's see what else is going on here. So, as far as outfit requests, I've never really thought of anything as being strange or crazy. More so as creative, I would say. For example, somebody recently asked if I'd be willing to dress as a blood elf mage from World of Warcraft. Hell yeah, I'm willing to dress as a blood elf mage! Are you kidding me? Like, let me get my special effects green contacts ready. Like, let's do this. I have all sorts of different costumes. Sailor Moon, well, Chibi Moon, that's the one with the pink hair, not the blonde hair, the little short one. I also have a Slave Leia costume, I have schoolgirl costumes, cat costumes, princess costumes. You name it, I probably have it. Sexy nun, check. Sexy flight attendant, check. Sexy M&M, check. Totally do have a sexy M&M costume from like Halloween. I don't think it was intended to be sexy. It was actually like, okay, funny story. So when it comes to Halloween costumes, I totally have to shop in the little kid area because I'm super short and adults are, like the adult costumes are too freaking big. Like you can't even cut these things down to size for me. So I got like a little girl M&M one and I was gonna like wear it with brown fishnets. I thought it would be super sexy. What I didn't realize is that the large size for little kids translated to like extra, extra small in adults. And so it was a very, very tight little sexy costume there. Unintentionally, intentionally, we'll take it. So, as far as the 10% deposit goes, you can put that down using a prepaid Visa gift card. If you're planning on using cash for the rest of your party, that's totally, totally fine. If it needs to be less than 10%, let the lady know, hey, this isn't 10% of my budget, but I'm gonna be paying with cash. I'm using a prepaid Visa gift card to put this deposit down. That works too, not a problem. You figure so long as you call into the ranch and put something down as a deposit, it's just a respect thing. It lets the lady know that you're serious about coming out to visit with her and you're serious about spending time with her. As you can imagine, we get hundreds upon hundreds of emails every single day. And a lot of people will be like, hey, I'm coming to see you, but aren't necessarily serious. A deposit indicates that you're actually for realsies, and that lets me know that we can get to know each other a little bit better. So how do you avoid lowballing if you are on a budget? That's actually a really great question. So simply lead off with the fact, be like, hey, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I am working with a little bit of a budget. Here's kind of what I had in mind. These are the activities that I would like to do if we're able to accomplish that with this budget. And then simply be willing to work with the lady. She's going to be way appreciative of the fact that you were open and honest with her and communicated that information. It's way easier to be able to work with somebody that's on a budget if you know that they actually have a budget that they need to work within. This way, you're not hearing about services and offerings that aren't necessarily applicable. For example, if somebody tells me they're on a tight budget, I'm not going to go into an explanation about how we can spend an entire weekend in Vegas together. That would be really nasty and rude of me. And so I never want to be disrespectful to you either. So if you let me know you're on a budget, I can certainly be respectful of that. I just need to know what's going on. Let's see, what else is going on? What is my favorite band? Oh god, so I love Nightwish. They're kind of an obscure one. They're like a Norwegian operatic metal band that I've been listening to for like years and years and years. But lately I've been really into Halsey and all of her new music. But like, I also have been really into Mother's Daughter, which is, oh gosh, a new song that just came out. It's freaking incredible. Check it out if you haven't already. Miley Cyrus did it. It's pretty dynamic. It's really fun. Let's see what's up. What's up? So, discounts and specials. Actually a really great question. So when you're seeing a lady for the first time, please do be respectful and try not to ask for like a, oh, I want a discount to make sure that I'm gonna like it. No, that actually comes off as being a little bit rude. Instead, if the lady has advertised a specific special, you can mention that as part of the negotiation and be like, hey, Alice, I noticed you're doing a special on pool parties, and we can actually start our session off together with kind of a fun pool party experience. Could you tell me a little bit about what that special is? Absolutely, and then I can go into the details and kind of explain what that would look like for the two of us. Oftentimes, ladies are able to be a little bit more flexible with their regulars too. Once we already have an established relationship and have seen each other more than once, the lady is usually able to be a little bit more flexible with time and budget constraints. However, you can't necessarily expect like the friends and families discount if the lady doesn't know you, because then you wouldn't be a friend or family. That wouldn't make sense. So definitely keep that in mind. But if a lady's advertising that she's offering like, oh, I'm offering a special on out days, I'm offering a special on overnights, be like, hey, what's your overnight special? You can definitely ask about things that are offered, but try not to pressure for things that aren't offered. Let's see, what else here? Stranger Things, yes, holy crap, Stranger Things, super hype, love it. Such a good show. Like, I'm all about like that 80s nostalgia aesthetic. Like, I'm into like the big band print t-shirts and whatnot. So like, oh yeah, bring it on. Big fan. Alright guys, I think that's about all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Coffee with Alice. Again, our sponsor this week is Clandestine Devices. Make sure to check out the Mimic if you're interested in getting an amazing, awesome sex toy. Alright guys, I will see you next week. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you all there!